Hey, what's up, YouTube world? It is your girl here, the Venusian Bull, and I am back with another astrological tea video. And in this video, we are going to be talking about the Sagittarius, the Archer, in this video. So very exciting. This should be very uplifting, very inspirational, and all of that jazz. I couldn't at first really think of what to wear for this video. I was like, And then I saw some animal print and I was like, yes, wild, born to be wild. That's very Sag. So I was like, bet. That's what I'm going to do. So, I'm trying to put on my best Sag right now, and be optimistic as long as you keep your head to the sky. I haven't even got to the song part yet, but that will forever be the theme song for Sagittarius. Like, it just is. It just is. So I'm going to get into my little blurb about Sagittarius. Sagittarius's motto is I see. They are ruled by Jupiter, which deals with a lot of things: luck, expansion, excess, spirituality and religion, higher learning, philosophical views, jovial spirit, optimism, long distance travel, and freedom. And Sagittarius's symbol is the Archer, and they are akin to the 9th house in your natal chart. So aside from the song Optimistic that I use, there's another song by Destiny's Child called Free that I think describes Sagittarius. Ain't no feeling like being free when your mind's made up and your heart's in the right place. So that's a good song. Also Beyonce's Freedom. Freedom, freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose. Hey. So that's a good song as well. Also, there's this new song out. It's like a challenge or whatever. I've been seeing it on Instagram. The song is called I'm Living My Best Life. Hey. Say I'm living my best life. Y'all, that's the only lyrics that I know to the song, but I'm living my best life. That's a Sag motto if I ever heard one, okay? So it is what it is. And if you will excuse me if I look a little tired, it is because I have been at the homegoing for the Queen of Soul, Miss Aretha Franklin, all 8 or 9 hours of that service. No, I wasn't there. I ain't in Detroit. But I was watching it. I was streaming it. And I was like, yo, this is just like us. This is just like black people to extend this long as hell. You know what I'm saying? It was straight up on CP time. It was people falling asleep at the service. But don't get it twisted. The service was lit. I mean, you had Fantasia lighting it up. Yolanda Adams, J Hud, Jennifer Holliday, Shirley Caesar, Shaka Khan, Gladys Knight, all the divas were up in the place. And then they had Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande can sing, but we'll save that for another video. It's not for this. But anyway, once again, rest in power, Aretha. I've been listening to a lot of her music. All right, so we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the Sag video. And just remember, you will exhibit some of these traits, or may exhibit some of these traits, I should say. If your sun, moon, or rising is in Sag, or if you have any of your personal planets in Sag, Mercury, Venus, or Mars, your north or south node is in Sag, or if you have planets in the 9th house. All right, so let's get to it. Now, I like to describe Sag energy. It's the energy that it's the fire energy that I wish I had, that I like almost had. You know what I mean? Because Sag is actually intercepted in my 1st house. My rising sign is Scorpio, but it's at the 29th degree. So Sagittarius actually occupies most of my 1st house. So I feel very drawn to Sagittarius energy. It's like the energy I wish I had because they're so, full of life and, optimistic and all of that stuff. Kind of a lot of things that I wish that I was a little bit, and the ability to like not give a fuck about things. I really wish I had that ability. That Scorpio energy really puts that intercepted Sag in check. Like, yo, hold up, we're not doing that. You know you a Scorpio rising. Stop it. So that's the struggle that I go through. But anyway, so Sagittarius have huge personalities, larger than life. And that makes you larger than life. That's a Backstreet Boys reference if you into, like the Teeny Boppers back from the late 90s. Yeah, that was me. Okay. So there's that larger than life personality. But they can act kind of holier than thou and kind of have a God complex. Beyonce did mention that in her song "Don't Hurt Yourself." Is she meant talk about the God complex, and her husband Jay-Z obviously is a Sagittarius, so I know that she be probably checking him on that shit. Like, you ain't God, like, nigga, please. Like I mentioned, they're very optimistic, so they're always looking at the glass half full. There's always options. You know what I mean? The Sag is never out of options. They're very idealistic, and they're also very philosophical. Let me tell you something about Sag, okay, and their philosophical mind and ideals. Like, they could sit here and like state a whole like philosophy on like the art of weed and smoking it, like, and make that shit sound legit. Like, they could write a fucking paper on that shit, and that would be like, they could turn that into some real inspirational stuff. Like, it's kind of amazing, actually. But they can come off as pretty preachy. Not to say that they would only have philosophical ideas about weed, but I'm just saying Sagittarius energy, they can tend to lean in the philosophical direction about a lot of different things that may not really need that philosophical touch or that preachy kind of touch. A lot of times Sagittarius can kind of have like a wild past, but at some point in their life, they found God. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people talk about how, I was wild back in the day. I was getting arrested and I was at my breaking point, and then I realized, I had to get in touch with my spiritual self, and I needed to find the Lord, so I started going to church, and now I'm a changed woman, or I'm a changed man, and all of that type of stuff. So that's very Sag. It rules higher learning. So colleges and universities, people with Sag energy might always be on to the next degree. Like, I went to get my bachelor's, I went to get my master's, now I'm getting their doctorate, and they just want to learn. They have a thirst for knowledge, so they're always trying to learn, new things, just on the highest level possible. It also rules long distance travel, so passports stay stamped, and no matter who you are, if you have Sagittarius energy, even if you don't be having no money, you are prone to travel. Like, you figure out ways to be able to travel. It's kind of amazing. Because they love to travel so much, it might be often that where they were born and where they grew up is not where they end up living in their adult life. So they're likely to move to another state, across the country, even to a different country to live, for the rest of their lives. They don't like restrictions on their freedom. So a 9 to 5 really doesn't suffice for a Sagittarius. I mean, like, it just doesn't work. They're really, like, Sagittariuses need to have their own business. They need to be entrepreneurs or have like multiple streams of income and stuff like that. They're really not suitable to like work in corporate America and have like a 9 to 5 job or, anything like that, because they're liable to just up and quit at a moment's notice, because they don't really like responsibility. Like, they're not really that reliable. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, they can have this job because they like, I was able to get it, but now I don't feel like being here. So fuck a 2 weeks notice. Deuces. But they can have a very, jovial attitude. They can be very lucky. Like, they just have that, luck is on their side. Like, you heard of the term luck of the Irish. It should have been called luck of the Sag, because Sages are just, they can just be very lucky in life, especially with money. So they can be more likely to like win the lottery or to win at the casino, like the big wins, like the jackpots and things of that nature. And usually big risks pay off for Sag in the way that they don't for some other signs in the zodiac. Um, uh, so I mentioned that. Sages always look at the big picture. So details seem kind of irrelevant to a Sagittarius. So if you are like, for instance, a Capricorn or something like that, that's all about the details and planning and things of that nature, you're going to kind of butt heads with the Sag and their idealistic point of view. They might have a really great, broad, high level idea, but it's like, how are you going to get there? So they're all about seeing things with the big picture. The details, like, they don't like that stuff. They don't like dealing with that. So big dreams, high ideals, because they are ruled by Jupiter. Because Jupiter expands things, that could expand a lot of things in their life. So that could mean like tempers expanding, blowing up, and everything like that. Things kind of just blowing up in your face. They can also be kind of full of hot air. So a lot of that excess, energy is just like hot air. It's just kind of bullshit. Kind of like their opposite sign, Gemini. So Sagittarius in that aspect can kind of carry the bullshitter title as well. So don't take everything that a Sag says as the gospel. Also, they can do things in excess, like having, multiple partners, eating in excess, drinking, smoking, talking in excess. And they are very loud talkers, very commanding presence when they speak. So they can be very extra, not quite. I feel like they're not quite as obnoxious as a Leo extra, because a Leo, they want to be seen, they want to be the entertainer and everything like that. Like Sag is more like there to like make you laugh, to kind of like inspire you and have teach you something, because they're definitely the teachers, but they can get kind of obnoxious a little bit and boisterous in their speech, and they can be very, very boastful. They can be very braggadocious about their accomplishments, and that may turn people off. Now their tone is very blunt and harsh. So if you want the truth, like if you really want the truth, ask a Sag. But if you're too sensitive to really hear the truth, don't ask a Sag, because like they don't necessarily understand tact. Like they don't really know like how to be subtle. Everything is just woo, as opposed to this person I have to approach this way, and this person that, like, they don't really get that. They don't really understand the art of subtlety. It's just about direct to the point. It doesn't matter if it's harsh or not. It's truth. That's what Sag has to deal with. They are the sign of the comedian, so Sages can actually be really funny people. They're all about truth and justice. This is another justice warrior sign like Libra, but I will explain further how they do differ. And this is one of the ways. They feel like they are above the law. So they don't feel like it's necessary for them to like, pay parking tickets or, do certain things that average people do on a regular basis to kind of get by in society. Sagittarius is very much like about like the sovereign kind of, I don't have any attachments to anything or anybody. I'm totally free. I'm a free bird. I want to fly far, far, far away from here. Forrest Gump reference. So yeah, that's kind of how Sagittarius look at life. They want to be completely free of all things holding them back and all responsibilities. So in reference to the law, they're prone to do the whole vigilante justice thing and taking matters into their own hands. They are prone to extreme violence. They are a mutable sign. And remember what I told you about mutable signs, especially with Sag. Sag can really fool you because Sagittarius energy is very nice and very jovial, very fun. But they do have a dark side, and their dark side is dark. You know how I have to talk about the dark side in every video. But infamous serial killer Ted Bundy was a Sagittarius. And I think that's, I believe when I watched the documentary, I think that's how he got a lot of his subjects, from being this kind of jovial, like happy-go-lucky, type of person. And, it turns out he was crazy. Yeah. So they can also be kind of forgetful, which means that they're easy to, it's easy for them to forgive. You know what I mean? Remember how I was talking about Scorpio is like, they may never forgive or forget what you did. A Sag might forget what you did in like 2 hours and be on to the next thing. They'd be like, you're still mad at that? I mean, I'm not mad at you anymore. Like, I forgive you. Like, I'm sorry. Like, girl, let's go out. Like, let's go hang out. You know what I'm saying? So that's a Sag. It may seem kind of like they're blowing it off, but like, honestly, they probably genuinely forgot that they were supposed to be mad at you. and that y'all like had a fight and stuff like that. So they have other things to worry about. They travel in the world. They might be going on to get their masters in some other field of study. Like, they got time for that. They got time for petty arguments and things of that nature. So they don't really hold grudges. They're very religious, like I mentioned earlier, and a lot of like reverends and preachers and ministers may have prominent Sagittarius energy because it's good for that energy is good for speaking in front of like large crowds and things like that, and being like an inspiration. You know what I mean? Sagittarius is when they speak, they can give a lot of very inspirational speeches, and that's really good when you're dealing with religion and worship and things like that. People need to be inspired by you, and that's what Sagittarius does. Now Sagittarius can kind of be twofold, so they can kind of be the hoe, like they can be kind of promiscuous boy. You know that song by Nelly Furtado? I forget how it go, but yeah, that's very Sag too. But they could also kind of like be the nun. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to understand that Sag is the sign of morals. Sag usually has high morals, high morality, and things of that nature. Like, so even if they're running the streets, acting crazy and stuff like that, they still have certain things that they won't do. You know what I'm saying? Like, certain things that they have, specific values and things like that. But they can also kind of be both, they can be, that hoe before. Remember I told you about Sagittarius can have a wild past and then they, found Jesus and stuff like that. So that's kind of the same idea. They're prone to practicing different like religions and spiritual practices because they're all about learning, and learning about religion and spirituality is a very big thing for Sagittarius. So they may want to learn Islam, and then they may want to learn another denomination of Christianity. Maybe they want to learn Baptist or Episcopalian or Catholic, or maybe they want to learn Hindu or Buddhism, or maybe they want to be a Jehovah's Witness. So they can run the gambit of all of the different, religious and spiritual practices, and they will actually practice it. They will do the necessary things, and then they might get sick of it. Remember, they are a mutable sign, so they're prone to change their minds. So just remember that. But yeah, they're definitely, you're not going to meet somebody with Sag energy that hadn't been religious or very spiritual at some point in their life. They have some type of knowledge of, spirituality and religion and things of that nature. They're also very intuitive. They're one of the signs that's not a water sign that's very intuitive. They can kind of be hypocritical in their preachy speech, and I kind of touched on this before. So if you happen to have somebody preaching to you and you know that last night they got wasted at the club, and then they trying to be preaching to you about how you didn't get up to go to school to go to your class, and you're not going to be able to get your degree and stuff like that and all that. So they can kind of be hypocritical in that sense. I'm like, didn't you miss your class too because you got wasted at the club and you talking about me? Well, they was like, well, I was smart enough to send in a doctor's note. I don't know about you. You know what I'm saying? That's just an angle that they may take, but they can kind of be hypocritical in that sense. They can kind of be slick with their words. Remember, I talked about them being very blunt and very harsh in their speech, but they can also be very slick with it. Remember, they're funny, they're comedians and things like that, but just remember they may take it too far. So if you can't handle a Sag's, sense of humor, then I don't know, but very, very funny people. It represents higher education, as I already mentioned, always learning, always, trying to find new things to learn and things of that nature. They could always be constantly going back to school or trying to get like new certifications and things and, things of that nature. Next, they're getting their bachelor's. Next, they're getting their real estate license. Next, they're getting their insurance license. Just all of these different things. They want to be very multifaceted when it comes to learning and skills. They're typically accepting of all nationalities, creeds, and cultures, and that's usually evident in their mates. A lot of times, people with Sagittarius energy are prone to like date outside their race, date different cultures, date people from different countries, and things like that. Maybe even date somebody that doesn't speak the same language as them, just because they, see it as a challenge and they want to try it out and test that out. Now, Sagittarius rules abundance, and that has to do with the Jupiter ruler. So, abundance of wealth, abundance of happiness, things of that nature. But it can also be abundance of negative things. It could be excess of negative things as well. But when I think of the word abundance, I think of good, positivity. When I think of excess, is kind of when I think of it in a more of a negative sense. Um, it also rules the higher courts and government and international law, rules foreign countries. Like the other fire signs, Sagittariuses are very, very athletic, so they would definitely be into sports, definitely into staying fit and working out, and very adventurous, which is probably how they get a lot of their, stamina and how they work out. They might be the people who like to go, rock climbing and mountain climbing and all of that type of stuff, skydiving, very adventurous, very fearless, always looking for the next adventure, always looking to explore, so they're always, on the go in that sense for adventure. They may be the most adventurous out of the fire signs, and definitely the most adventurous out of the zodiac. Always about living life to the fullest, always. I think their other motto should be YOLO. You only live once. That's very, very Sag. Now they may come off as obnoxious and extra. I just have to say that. Loud and boisterous. I mentioned that already. They can also be kind of reckless and wasteful. And especially they can kind of be a messy drunk, because they may drink like way too much. Remember the excess part. And also reckless. They could be reckless drivers. Now they can be really good drivers, but if they are under the influence, they may be kind of reckless, and then they may like not care about if they have other people in the car and stuff like that. So they may be prone to like car accidents and like DUIs and things of that nature. So just be careful if you're in the car with a Sag and they driving. You should be the designated driver, because a Sag is going to go out and have fun. A Sag does not want to be the designated driver. Really, they don't, but they will, because they'll be like, I got it. I can do it. Take over the wheel. Call an Uber. Do that. Call an Uber. They can lack tact, but they can chuck it up to, well, I told you the truth. They're all about the truth. They're all about being honest. They're completely the honest sign of the zodiac. So some people don't like that real blunt, harsh honesty, and that's what Sagittarius gives. They can also be fanaticals. They can be the super fans. What is the culture right now of like the super fans? So you got like the Beehive for like Beyonce, you got the Navy for Rihanna and stuff like that. So that's like kind of the idea of like the super fan. They're like the quintessential groupies of the zodiac. You know what I'm saying? So they're getting backstage, they're getting the VIP passes. For women, they may be getting with the men, you know what I'm saying? Drake always be talking about the groupies and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the fanatical side of Sagittarius. They are very sexual people, and they love variety when it comes to sex. They love like different people. Like Sagittarius really doesn't have a type. Like you can try, but I mean, Sagittarius doesn't really have a type. Like all of their, partners physically are probably going to look different. They might be with someone who looks like very model-esque one day, and then the next day be with like a plus size girl or something like that. So they don't really have a type. They like to try it all, variety all around. So like, everyone is up for grabs for a Sagittarius. They are a free spirit, but they are prone to go MIA, like at the drop of a hat, without any notice, in the name of freedom. They just be like, I need to get away. And they might not even say it. You're lucky if they at least tell you that they need to get away. But they're definitely prone to do that. Sag energy can give off of the air of wealth and abundance. even if they don't have much. It's just like in their spirit. So they don't give off like let's say a Sag is homeless or something like that. They just don't give off that vibe. Like they figure out a way to survive and to make it through and be happy and see the glass half full. Remember, be optimistic, you know? So like I mentioned, they like to take leaps of faith. They're risk takers. So that could be in love. You know what I'm saying? They are hopeless romantic. They do want the horse-drawn carriage and all of that. Remember, they're idealistic and all of that type of stuff. So they're gonna take a leap of faith in love. They might like meet somebody in, you know, in a week and decide they want to get married, and they like will elope in Vegas or something like that. Sag would be the type of energy to do something like that. So they could take a leap of faith in career, like quit a very like stable, consistent job to like follow their dreams or something like that. And they're also the type, like they could go to California, the city of dreams, LA specifically, with $1 and a dream. They're the dollar and a dream person and figure out a way to survive. Like I said before, a Sagittarius is going to find a way. There's will, there's way. They can be very, very rebellious. Think Christina Aguilera, who was a Sag. Think of her song "Dirty." Wanna get dirty, wanna get a little unruly. That's very Sag. It's just like breaking away from all of this stereotypical whatever mess and just getting dirty. Like, yeah, that's a Sagittarius rebelling. They can also be very rambunctious, like very hyper. Like all of the fire signs can be pretty hyper. I would say that Aries and Sag more hyper than Leo, but all of the fire signs can be hyper, especially a Sag, because it's just like it's a ball of fire, ball of energy. Like I said, they're always on to the next adventure, the next excitement, the next fulfilling thing that they can do, because you know they know that life is short and you got to live life to the fullest. So you know they're always like, let's go do something. So they can kind of come off as know-it-alls. Like I said, they are the philosophical, they always give a philosophical angle on a lot of things when they're speaking with you. Always teaching. They can't help it. So even if you didn't ask, it doesn't matter. They're going to act like they are the professor. They think that they're Aristotle and all of that type of stuff. So, you know, just let it go and stuff like that. But that's one of the things that does kind of irk me about Sag energy, the whole preachy aspect. I'd be like, don't preach to me. Okay, so, you know, that's something to keep in mind. They would make a good professor. They would make a good teacher of any kind and a good like motivational speaker as well. They could go around making money being motivational speakers. Now, they can put their foot in their mouths when it comes to what they say. Remember, because they're very blunt, they're very harsh, they're very, very honest, very truthful. So think when it comes to, and they could be very, put their foot in the mouths in the name of justice. So think Monique and like Nicki Minaj. Sometimes they can like accidentally make a point, but sometimes they're blowing out, you know, a lot of hot air or whatever. So like a lot of times, specifically with those two women, I can see their point, and they're both Sagittarius, by the way. I see their points, but it's like, y'all missed A, B, and C. Like, I get D, but where did A, B, and C come from? Like, where's the point with that? So, yeah. Now they can be prone to put on weight, like I mentioned, because Jupiter expands things, so they can eat in excess. I wanted to kind of compare the whole justice warrior of Sagittarius compared to Libra, because Libra is about justice too, but Libra is more about justice in the actual courtroom. Sag is more about like vigilante justice when it comes to them like really, really feeling like something is unjust. So I like to use the movie A Time to Kill as a reference. And you know I love using movies and TV shows and characters as a reference. But I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies with Samuel L. Jackson. So when, and I'm spoiling it, but whatever. If you haven't seen it, it's like over 20 years old. But basically, the character Samuel L. Jackson, his young daughter was raped by two white men. And basically, I believe he found out that the white men who raped his daughter raped his daughter was only going to get like 10 years or something like that. And they might even have been able to appeal it or something like that. This was happening all in, like, I think it was Mississippi. So it was the deep South. It was the South in 95, but it was still the South. So very, very racist and everything like that. So he took it upon himself, like, fuck that. Y'all not just getting 10 years. Y'all should be getting life or the electric chair. So I'm going to kill y'all motherfuckers. So he killed them in the courthouse. That is so Sag. And that's what I mean about, like, prone to extreme violence. Like, that is so Sag, but that was in the name of justice. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, Matthew McConaughey's character was able to get him off. So, in the name of justice, a time to kill. It basically, there's always a time to kill. Maybe you shouldn't do it, but, you know, you mess with my child, that's the time to kill. That's all I got to say about that. So Libra would have allowed the legal process play out and the court process play out and do it, like, you know, try to appeal the decision if it was only 10 years, try to get a longer sentence for them and, you know, things of that nature. Now, Sagittarius, the body parts of Sag rules are the hips, the thighs, the buttocks. They like big butts and they cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny. Anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hun. Yes, I had to stop to do that real quick. It was necessary. So they rule the buttocks, and they also rule the liver, the bloodstream, and semen. And remember, I didn't mention this earlier, but Sagittarius is a masculine sign, so this is projecting outward, so it's masculine energy. Sages, they also love planes and skydiving and pretty much anything in flight. You know, they love to travel and things like that. So they also love to fly. So they like the idea of, like, if they were gonna have a steady job, a consistent job, like being a flight attendant would be very appealing. Like, I get to travel all over the world for free. Hell yes. Because Sagittarius, like anything that's free, like freedom and free go hand in hand with a Sag. They have no qualms about speaking their minds, and they don't apologize for it. So again, going back to the whole Nicki Minaj and Monique, especially because Nicki Minaj has been in the news recently, and Monique was in the news earlier this year for a lot of the things that they were saying on social media. And they don't apologize for anything that they said. And sometimes I think that they're right. And sometimes, you know, I think that they're reaching. But one thing a Sag is not going to go back on, they're not going to go back on their beliefs. They have strong beliefs and morals and values, and they're going to stick by them whether we think that they're correct or not. That doesn't matter. So there are many, like, celebrities that have Sag energy, many entertainers rather that have Sag energy, because it's such a fun, like, free-spirited sign. It's full of personality, and you kind of have to have a big personality to be in this, like, dog-eat-dog world of celebridom and be able to have, you know, a thick skin. And Sagittarius has that fun, lighthearted spirit, but they also do have a thick skin. So I think that that's something very important to remember. And I wanted to mention a couple of celebrities that are Sages. Again, I mentioned Monique and Nicki Minaj, Jay-Z, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Janelle Monáe, Taylor Swift, and Miley Cyrus. And I mentioned Miley Cyrus again because of the whole rebellious type of thing. Also, Tyra Banks is a Sagittarius as well. So keep that in mind. So that is it for my Sag video. This wasn't as long as the Scorpio video, but the videos are getting a little bit longer because, you know, once you get a little bit farther out in the zodiac, the ideas and characteristics of the signs, they get a little bit more complex. You know, Aries through Cancer is a lot more simplified just in their characteristics than the remaining signs. So that's the reason why these videos are coming out a little bit longer. But that is it for the Sagittarius video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Add any additional songs that you think represent Sagittarius. And I will be back in the next video when I talk about Capricorn. So get ready and get serious. All right, see you next time. Bye.